Hey guys, welcome to yet another episode of Yash Dubal Books Club. And the book we are reviewing today is Who Moved My Cheese? Let's meet in the other side of the intro.
Wait, what's happening here? Okay, folks, we have another guest in this episode, and it is my colleague, Dr. Derek Kale. And this book is actually a parable like the previous one, Raving Fans. Again, very nicely, a short read and a very nicely written book by Spencer Johnson. So, Derek, tell us what you liked more about this book.
Alright, the book was well narrated when Dr. Spencer started telling us the story of these guys who went to school together.
Okay.
And then they met, and then they wanted to catch up and know how their lives were. And the entire story based on one guy who gave out the story of these two guys, all right, in an example of a maze and the two rats, whereby they were given cheese, and we see through the story how they reacted to the situation of the availability of cheese in the maze. So the story tells us that these two guys were complex, right? They were human beings, complex. They could think through things, but the more they got the cheese every day, they thought that they owned it. They thought that they deserved the cheese.
So they became very comfortable with what they had.
Exactly. So they wake up in the morning every day. They found the cheese there every morning, not knowing who kept it there, right? So they become comfortable without knowing what was going around. Even when the person who was keeping the cheese was trying to remove little by little every day, they never noticed because they were so comfortable with the environment that they found every day. Unlike the two rats, who, when they arrived in the cheese area, they had to survey around and see if there are any changes every single morning.
Yeah, or if there's any threat.
Yes, exactly. And knowing that, and the time the cheese was reduced, they started figuring out that something was going on, so they were prepared for the change. At the end of the day, these guys did not find the cheese in the morning when they woke up, and they became mad, starting to blame that who took their cheese, they deserved it, why was it there every day, why now it's not there. So they couldn't adapt it, then they started suffering. Whereas unlike the rats, when they found that the cheese was not there, they kept on their shoes, ran around the maze, and got another place with even more cheese. So they were easy to adapt, ready, and they knew what was going on around the surrounding. So they kept their questions very simple, and also they kept their answers very simple compared to the guys who...
Yeah, I mean, so they tended to complicate it by overthinking a scenario and thinking that, okay, once I have this, it's mine to keep, and I own it, and nothing can stop me. And once it's taken away, and they feel helpless, and they kind of go in denial, and they cannot accept the change.
Exactly.
And I think that's where most problems is with humans, because the saying goes like, the only thing which is constant is change.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, we are not able to adapt to the change, and that's where all the root of problems lie.
Yeah. So this parable also is so real in life right now, whether it be business, whether it be technology or work. People are so comfortable around the areas that they are, not knowing that every single day things change, technologically, business-wise, the way people purchase stuff, the way people go to work and work in different offices. And the time that their jobs or their business run into falls, they start complaining, start thinking that probably something wrong went and they deserve to keep the business or their job positions. But in real sense, people have to know and figure out the environment. As things change, they also have to adapt to the changes and be ready to change. The world is dynamic and it's changing every day, and you have to get ready every single morning to change according to how things change.
Yeah, so when you mention technology, that's when it reminds me of this example of Kodak. They used to be huge, and this was during the film era when all the cameras were made on film. And surprisingly, they were the first people who actually came up with the digital technology, the digital cameras. However, the board at that time dismissed that off, saying that we will actually undergo losses because our films won't sell, and or because they relied a lot, or their revenues were more generated with the films which they were selling and the accessories. So having the digital technology would actually ruin that, forgetting that in the long run that's what is going to sustain them, and that's what will give them a dominance in the whole thing. So they just scrapped that whole project off, and then 2-3 years down the lane, Nikon, Canon, everyone jumped in, and Kodak is no longer being seen anywhere.
Yeah.
So they could not adapt to that change, and that's where they just lost their way.
Exactly. So when we see the upcoming technological companies, they are really set to adapting the changes that the need of people who purchase their products, and also the need of the market as well.
True.
So that's a very good example of the two rats that are in this book. All right? They're not sitting there relaxed to think that, oh, everything is gonna be okay tomorrow and the day after. But they're there thinking that we are having this today, tomorrow it might not be here.
Sure.
So we have to try as much as possible to find our way through and make it through every single change that comes in our way.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a very nicely put book. It's a 100-page read. I think you have summarized it very well for the audience. If there is one take-home point, what would you say?
Get ready to change.
That's it.
Yeah.
So this whole book is about change and how to adapt to it. With that, I would like to thank you, Derek, for graciously accepting this invite. And
Thank you very much for having me in your club.
Great.
I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. Okay, guys, we'll see you in the next episode.
See ya.
And is it Spencer Johnson?
Yeah.
Yes.
Spencer
All right. It is Spencer Johnson. Yeah, because when you mentioned technology, just a second.
Poland.
Good. Nice. Sweet.